Andor Episode 7 just confirms what I've been feeling for the last few episodes, which is this is the best Star Wars has been since Disney took over. Really the best Star Wars since the original trilogy. Now, I'm not going to compare and contrast too much with The Mandalorian, which is my other favorite Star Wars since the original trilogy. I think that The Mandalorian captures the space western vibe of Star Wars. It's a little bit more swashbuckling, good fun, more shootouts, more heroism, and more adorable Baby Yoda. Whereas Andor captures that sort of dark World War II vibe that the original trilogy did have. I mean, Lucas was going for like the Empire being a space Nazi organization. Basically, you had stormtroopers, you've got, you know, the uniforms, you've got the human supremacy angle and all that. So so this really captures that space World War II vibe. It's grittier, it's darker, but really the thing about Andor is it's just so top-notch. The quality is extraordinary. The cinematography, the costume design, the cool synth music, the acting, the script, the dialogue, every single aspect of this show is just so well made. It's kind of crazy to me, but they make Imperial bureaucracy more exciting than the lightsaber duels in Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's just a lot more muchness. I don't know how to say it. It's just a well-produced show. It's got compelling characters that don't undermine the lead. Cassian Andor is clearly the central figure of this story, but he's the central figure because he's going out and encountering these rebels. He meets interesting people like Luthen, who has this really interesting relationship with Mon Mothma. And so you see sort of different aspects of the rebellion and of society under Imperial rule, from the upper crust of Coruscant right down to, like, you know, the oppressed locals of various planets. You get a wide look at the Empire during this phase without focusing on Skywalkers, without focusing on just sort of the goofy stuff that makes Star Wars, you know, fun, but ultimately a lot of the times kind of empty. This adds depth. This adds narrative depth. This adds thematic depth. This gives us a more, I guess, a more realistic look into what society might feel like and look like under Imperial rule. One of the really interesting parts of Luthen's scenes in this latest episode was just how he was describing Imperial rule as sort of so not benevolent, but just so subtle that people weren't even noticing their own oppression. And so the heist was not just for the money, but also to send an announcement that there's really is a rebellion out there and that it needs to be taken seriously, because they want to provoke. They want to light a fire under the Empire so that they overreact. And that's exactly what the Empire does, which we see, you know, a bit of conflict within the Imperial ISB about their reaction, but ultimately the Empire is going to crack down hard, and this is exactly what Luthen wants, because he wants people to suffer so that they fight back. And so we have really more sort of grown-up conflict here than we did in something like Obi-Wan or Boba Fett, where, you know, Boba Fett was this whole, like, I want to take over the city crime lord title, like, totally ignoring, you know, the actual extent of Jabba the Hutt's crime empire for this little, like, kind of blasé conflict over one single city. And they didn't even really know how to portray an underworld or a crime world in Star Wars, and yet that they tried to base their whole Book of Boba Fett show on it. This show, on the other hand, has a clear vision of what it wants to be. It's not dithering and all over the place like Boba Fett or Obi-Wan. It doesn't undermine its central character by making them doddering old fools like in Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. We don't have anyone like young Leia to sort of make, the main character look bad. Cassian Andor is hardly a hero, but this is also clearly his story. And that vision just sort of permeates the entire show. I also think that, I was talking with a reader about this, but just that the aesthetic here is so on point, and it feels so Star Wars. It has that sort of 70s Star Wars sci-fi feel, right down to the sideburns and the mustaches and the costume design. Just this captures the feel of Star Wars better than almost anything since the original trilogy. The only thing that compares, again, is I think The Mandalorian, maybe Rogue One. The Mandalorian is capturing that space western vibe, a more adventurous vibe, whereas in Andor we just get pure raw like Star Wars. You know, there's without the without the legacy stuff, without the Skywalker stuff. So I really find this an awesome, really exciting show. I'm sad that more people aren't watching it. I don't know if people are burnt out on Star Wars, or they just don't, they don't come to this the same way that they came to Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, which are much more recognizable characters and names. Andor is a much more minor character, and people probably don't really, in the wider fandom, don't really know that much about him. And it's odd that someone that is as small of a part and small of a role in this universe has been given a show that is so much better looking and so much more lovingly produced and written than either of those. In any case, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you are watching Andor. I hope you're enjoying it as much as me. So thanks for watching. Peace.